I also apologize for my internet because it is a bit all over the place, shall we say. So if words to miss out, then feel free to ask me a question or whatever. So first of all, Psalm 126, as Chris mentioned, is something that came up in our retreat week. We decided prior to our retreat that it'd be good for each of us to take a time, each of our core teams. So the core team, for anyone who isn't sure, are me, Emma, Chris, and Roxanne. And we gathered as this team together and kind of shared some of the verses that have been speaking to us over the last however many days or weeks or whatever it was. And as Chris said, one of his was Psalm 126, specifically verse 5, which is those who sow with tears will reap with songs of joy. And in connection to that, he also had Joel. I will also put all these together for people to look at later on, so don't worry if you don't have a chance to write them down. He also had Joel chapter 2 verse 25, which connects in with that, which is, I will repay you for the years the locusts have eaten, the great locust and the young locust, the other locusts and the locust swarm, my great army that I sent among you. So there's, again, going back to these ing words, we had a lot of re words. So we've got repay. We also had in Psalm 165, we had sowing and rejoicing. And Emma's was Isaiah 41, chapter 41, verse 10, which says, so do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Then we had Roxanne, who was in Romans chapter 12, verse 2, which says, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed. So we've got transforming by the renewing, another word, of your mind, that you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. And then finally, my verse that we took some time to think and reflect on was, let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. So out of this, we had, again, a lot of re-words. We had restoring, renewing. And after a little bit of time and reflection, we decided to come up with a word for the year, which is transfigure or transfiguring, which is an unusual word. And I think when we spoke about it as a team, if you're a Christian, then you're probably thinking about Jesus and the transfiguration in that sort of sense. If you're a Harry Potter fan, then you might be thinking of the spells that are involved in Harry Potter. So it's one of those words that we don't really use in today's language. And Emma had a look to see what the definition was to kind of make it a little bit more understandable for us today. And it came up with the revelation of our true nature. The revelation of our true nature. So revealing, another re-word. And for those of you who were around last year and were aware of what was going on a little bit with YouBelong, our word was ploughing, and it was kind of like coming to this afresh this year, refreshed, renewing, restoring, transforming, and revealing our true nature. And so this year, that's kind of our theme, and our aim is about finding out what God is trying to do in and through us. And in bringing us into our true nature as YouBelong and as individuals in this community. So the newsletter will be going out next week, I believe, or no, this week. It'll be very soon. The days have gone ahead very quickly. And we're going to be focusing throughout the year on the Psalms that we've, as we've been doing before, in a chronological order. And Chris and Emma worked on looking into the different Psalms and how they connect with various other parts of what we're looking at and who we are. And we've come up with a theme going forwards, as each Bible study will have a God is this, and then a New Testament reading that will be about we are this. And so that's going to kind of be our theme and our format going forward into the new year. So it's going to be, this is what we learn about God through the Old Testament, through the Psalm, and then we're going to learn about who we are through God in the New Testament at the same time. So that's going to be kind of our way of going forward. There are lots of things that we still don't quite know exactly how it's going to work out, and lots of practicalities and things like that we need to work out still. But I think as a team, we got really excited when we were thinking about this and praying about it. and are really energized and excited for what's ahead for 2023. I don't know whether Chris or Emma or Roxanne, whether you have anything that you want to add.
I think that was a brilliant summary, Laura. Well done.
Yeah.
I think we were all really encouraged because we looked back and were praying, and then we brought our own Bible readings, what was on our heart independently, and we were like, wow, look at us. God's speaking to us so clearly in slightly different ways, but in the same focus. And we just felt so strongly that God is really wanting us to work as a community to encourage each other and to move forward, and that we wanted then to share that with you and also say what's on your hearts.
Yeah, definitely. I know that's a big question, and it was something we were, looking for feedback, but just putting out there that big question is quite a lot. So it's not something we want, instant feedback on, but if at any point you feel God is speaking to you, if you have any ideas or anything like that, please do bring them to us, because we do want it to be a community effort, not this is Laura's thing or this is Emma's thing. It's, as a community, we think that we're all hearing from God through the Holy Spirit in our own ways. And, we know that through the team retreat that we've each had our own little verses, and they've all connected into a bigger thing that's just come together. And we really believe God is in that. So, yeah, it's good. Chris, have you got anything that you want to add to that before we kind of chat a little bit more?
I think you've said it all. I think as far as the whole God is and we are is concerned, just, because God is this, that has consequences on who and what we are. And so there's that link as well. So, for example, the next month is God is King. And because God is King, because of who we are his children. And that has consequences for us. And good consequences. And
yeah.
there's that link between the two things. So Laura, you've said everything brilliantly.
I think one thing that I would also like to say about is that last year you might have noticed in our prayer posts that we were putting out on social media that we said about we are a community of prayer and that this is our year of prayer. And although we don't specifically feel this is our year of prayer anymore, that doesn't mean that we're not going to be praying anymore. So our updated prayer post is we just got rid of that line that says our year of prayer. We said we are still a community of prayer, and this is important to us. And Roxanne, you might not have heard very much from her yet because we've kind of been working along behind the scenes and stuff. But Roxanne ultimately came into this as our kind of person with a passion and calling for prayer. Specifically from a place of personal prayer, of feeling, what do we do when it doesn't feel like God is responding in the way that those who are praying for us want, so in chronic illness, we're going to be feeling the same way multiple times, maybe each day, maybe each week or whatever. And I think often it's difficult to go to the same church or the same people and say, oh, can you pray for that again? Can you pray for that again? Because people seem to get bored of that. But we know that we don't want to be not praying for things that don't seem to be happening, because we know God is working behind the scenes and we want to be together in those difficult times when it feels like things aren't happening. And so we are going to be incorporating more prayer into our month. So we're going to have our normal Bible study each month. And we're also going to have a sort of mindful art Bible journaling combo thing each month. As well as a specific prayer time where we're going to have a bit of Lectio Divina, a little bit of community prayer, a little bit of personal prayer. All that kind of stuff is going to be built into an event each month, which will be available on Zoom, a much shorter session, so as it can be something that's less energy requiring. But there will also be a little video that goes out each month from Roxanne and Emma, and maybe some of us in the future, which will be a space for you to kind of maybe learn a different rhythm or type of prayer, or to put into practice a different way of praying, or we're exploring prayer together basically in different ways. And then finally we're going to be having socials, which are just going to be little informal chats, time to get together, which in February is going to be our little pancake day social, which is going to fall on an evening because we want to make sure we've got some different times of day available to people. So there'll be an evening thing, there'll be Saturday things, there'll be mid-morning things, to make sure we can incorporate things for multiple people. and then recording some of these things like this that we can make available for people to view later in the day if they're not able to join us at the time. So in a wrap up, that's basically what's going on. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm already feeling much better just talking about it. So hopefully everyone else is looking forward to it as well. But yeah, I will stop the recording. If you're watching this later on, then feel free to email or DM or whatever. But for now, we're going to have a little chat in the group outside of this recording so we can get any feedback.